Ooh. Good golly. Alright, come on. Any day now. It says it's updating. You know, it seems like YouTube Stream now is a lot slower to connect. Alright, let's see. Are we live yet? We are live. But I can't seem to follow to the channel by clicking on the thing, so that sucks. Yeah, there we go. Oh man, it's got the DeVLog. It's got the wrong thumbnail, but anyways. So this was kind of easier to live stream than it is to record an update, so I figured I'd just do that. And I'm just enjoying the double glass of tea before heading off, calling it a night. So I wanted to update on what's going on, and I should probably record this as well as live stream, because from my past experience, YouTube has been a little bitchy about not saving one of my live streams that was live streamed directly to YouTube Direct. The one that was not done using the events. Anyways, so I'll record it, and if it doesn't pop up in the videos, I'll just re-upload it as a video. So I've been taking a short break from game development for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, so that I could work on the custom lighting system, and that has gotten to the point where I can continue working on the game, because I've reached the point where I will need to save up a couple more $100 in order to continue that project. So where am I at right now with this project? Let me pull up the thing on YouTube. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. You know, I should probably give up on live streaming altogether, because I can't even monitor the audio signal. Anyways, so this was the lighting system, the custom lighting system, and this was only a portion of it. So essentially, the custom lighting kit is this set of lighting hardware that I can take with me in order to be the visual representation for my live music performances for the electronic dance music. And it's really, in my opinion, an integral part of live performances. It's not electronic music in most certain cases. When it's music produced in the studio, you can't really perform that kind of music. So this is essentially kind of an important element when it comes to live performance, visually representing your music. And I mean, it's totally different when it's a band playing, you know, covers or playing original music, acoustical bands, singers. This is where actual performance and skill in the performance actually comes into play. When it comes to electronic music like this, I mean, it's true what they say. It's just about pressing a button, but that's, I mean, with electronic music, live performance is not where the music lies. Live performance is something that you come to see, not just listen. This is why I concentrate on the visual aspect when it comes to live performances more than the audio aspect, because the audio aspect is already taken care of in the studio. This is the fun part. Working in the studio, creating music, because the things you do in the studio, you cannot always create live on stage. Like actually preparing this stuff in the studio usually yields way better results than doing something live freelanced as a single man musician, you know, in like even in rare cases, even when you have a performer, like actual performer playing, you know, the pad controller and the keyboard with a bunch of synthesizers from around, usually all that stuff is still rehearsed and all that stuff is still prepared in the studio, right? So basically, like, what is this? This is half of a one single element for the lighting kit. This is the LED wall. Now, I didn't really know which direction I wanted to take this or what kind of adjustments I wanted to make to this until I have actually built it. And now that I have built it, the first thing that I notice is that these LEDs, one single strip is really not enough to deliver the same effect. And I felt that these LEDs were a little bit too dim, and because they were too dim is why they couldn't really deliver the effect that I was looking for. But there was actually a bit of an issue that I discovered, is that I was doing my calculations as to how much current, how much power basically, or how much juice these LED strips will be consuming, and according to that I was looking at what kind of a power supply I'd have to use, and I kept making my calculations from a point of reference that this power supply is actually a 30 amp power supply. And I was, you know, doing some basic numbers, like I looked at one LED strip consuming about, you know, 2.4 amps of current if I were to drive them in all white, and there would be points in the music performance where I need a full white background. So that's basically where I was thinking, okay, so if I need full white background, that means all LEDs have to be blasting at full brightness, which means that one LED strip will be consuming 2.4 amps of current. I've got 7 of these suckers. I was racking up about 15 amps of current for this one entire thing. And if I were driving all of these LEDs at once, for some reason I couldn't quite hit that full white color. And in the end, it turned out that this power supply wasn't actually 30 amp, it was a 20 amp power supply. But all of these LEDs still made up to roughly about 16, 17 amps, so it was still below, but I don't think the headroom was quite there to, well, I mean, this is a Chinese power supply purchased for about $50. You can't really expect this thing to actually pump out all of the, you know, 20 amps. So it was probably pumping out maybe about 15, 16. I don't have the tools to test how much it was. But at least by testing this, I could actually see that it was just not enough. Now I bought 2 of these power supplies. One was this one, the 20 amp one, and the other one was the 40 amp one. I bought the one of them for the CNC machine, which is something that I have yet to build, and I have yet to actually. I mean, my dad told me about this one place where I can purchase like aluminum guides for $25 for like a 2-meter thing, giant fucking piece of thing. So I can actually make the carriage from that. So technically, I mean, I have most of the, actually all of the electric parts. I want to say all of the mechanical parts. I mean, I even have these suckers still sitting on my desk for the CNC machine. Something that I don't have to make myself. But the whatchamacallit, the first power supply was meant for the CNC machine. The second power supply was meant for the lighting system, and I figured, you know, 20 amps, that's got to be enough, you know, to do everything that I need to do, and probably even have more overhead to compensate for any inaccuracies in calculations, when in reality I was just way off. So one of these, basically this is a half wall. I still need to make another half. Now in the past week and a half, 2 weeks, that I have not been live streaming game development, I've been learning how to do like home-based circuit board printing, how to do toner transfers, and how to etch away the circuit boards and whatnot. It was actually a really fun project, and I actually got a, by my standards, a really decent effect, or really decent result from my home-based etching procedure. So, and that is even the fact that I wasn't using any of the correct tools or any of the correct materials to do it. Like I was using some newspaper, like glossy newspaper for toner transfers, and I'm using this like cheap toner. It was just all the wrong tools, and the result actually turned out to be usable, definitely usable. So I'm just wondering, like, what would happen if, like, this basically was the resulting etched circuit board. And you can see it's a two-sided design too, so that was really cool. So this circuit board actually that you see in front of you, this is an actual circuit board. It's a tiny little piece that I'm using in the LED wall. So this one circuit board is supposed to house 3 resistors, 3 MOSFETs, the inputs from the controller, and the power rails, as well as the outputs for the LED strips. So one of these drives one single LED strip. But as far as I can tell, I can actually use this to drive multiple LED strips if those LED strips are supposed to repeat the same values and the same colors as the other ones. So I don't think I have to print and solder any more of these, because I actually used up pretty much all of my MOSFETs and all of my resistors. Well, okay, not all, pretty much all of my resistors that I actually purchased for this this project. So I you know, this was like a really janky budget. Like I was buying parts that are like weeks apart, and I only bought enough parts to make this one system, plus maybe just a couple of spare parts in case I screwed something up. So, you know, I've been basically working on implementing the code for the microcontrollers to take in the MIDI data from the whatever, be it a controller or be it in the computer. In that time, I actually received my cheap eBay MIDI interface. That's like the one that's $6, and it's a single USB MIDI input, MIDI output interface. I made this fucking thing, which is, it's a stepper motor that gyrates the etchant inside of a plastic container up and down, so that it keeps the etchant circulating, and that etches away the circuit boards. And you can actually hear the the sound in the headphones. It's quite fun. And this was taken out, like, man, shit, it's getting kind of cold, and this is located in the garage, so it's getting kind of chilly to be doing this sort of stuff. I gotta start dressing up warm if I want to do any more of this sort of work. 'Cause it's getting kind of fucking cold out there. So back to the subject. The entire custom lighting system is comprised of an LED wall. So this right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are 7 strips, and this is a half of the wall. I decided to split it in half, so 7 on the left, 7 on the right, because then I don't have to, first of all, carry this giant 114 piece. I can have 2 separate pieces, which means that I'm also flexible in how I position these things. I can actually, like if I have a narrow stage or a narrow place, like I know some bars have a really narrow area for the DJs to play, I can actually angle these like this. So I'll be here and I'll angle them to make like a concave effect in order to fit the LED wall inside. Now, once I put this together, there's another thing that I realized is that after I plugged in my 40 amp power supply, I actually saw just how bright these LEDs are, and they are actually pretty bright. They still don't quite reach that complete full white value, but I saw that I'm moving definitely in the right direction with this thing. So let's see, there's another video. I don't think I published it. This was the video. Here we go. It's sideways. It's kind of fucked up because my phone didn't correct it, and half of it didn't even record. But if I move like to the mid side, I'll have to reshoot it with the proper camera instead of the photo camera. Come on. It's like the last few seconds of the video that's actually ended up capturing. Here we go. So as you can see, it's actually pretty bright, and it's actually pretty good looking in a dark area, which is usually where you'd have live performances take place of this sort. So you know, so each individual light can be controlled, and I can control the color, the brightness, and all that good stuff. What I'm gonna have to actually do is I'm going to have to triple the amount of LEDs that I have. So right now I'm using 14 for the entire thing. I just have to build the other half. I'm gonna have to triple that amount. So, you know, it's like 1 in the morning, and 14 times 3 is what? 30, 40, no, 14 times 3, 52, I think, 42, sorry, 42, it's fucking late, and I'm bad at math, and I'm programming video games. How freaking weird is that? So, 42 LEDs is what I need from 14 to 42. Yeah. And that means that even like the 40 amp power supply can barely run half a wall. So I'm gonna actually have to buy 3 more power supplies. I'm gonna have to buy 3 more 40 amp 12 volt power supplies, which surprisingly enough on AliExpress goes for about 28 bucks. So realistically, 3 more power supplies is about 75 bucks from what the app quoted me for, which is not bad at all. I'm also gonna have to pick up more of those LEDs, and the 14 pack of LEDs cost me about 50 bucks, so that's another 100 bucks. I will also need to pick up a few miscellaneous parts, which aren't really miscellaneous. I'm gonna have to find another MIDI interface. The one thing that I noticed is that with the different MIDI interfaces that I have, there seems to be a little bit of miscontinuity with the way these media interfaces actually handle data. So I've had like media interfaces that are a little bit too slow, they lag behind, that other media interfaces actually send the amount of data that I need, while others kind of get buffer issues and they end up hogging messages, and the entire light show ends up getting backlogged, right? And it starts getting offset by like a few seconds, and by the time you reach like maybe the half-hour mark, your live show, the live show is actually like a minute behind. So all the effects are happening a minute behind because the media interface you use is not fast enough at sending all those media messages. So the one interface that I know it works with is the Mark of the Unicorn Media Express 128. That media interface actually is fast enough to send all my data. It's probably has a whole bunch of headroom for doing more. But another thing is that it depends on the speed of the computer, because I tried to do this with a laptop, and even if I connected the Mark of the Unicorn Media Express 128 interface onto to it and send the messages from the DAW, it was still a little sluggish. It would still lag behind, and now it's just, you know, and I got like spikes and interruptions and, you know, stuff that makes a live show sound like shit. So basically that means I also need to build another computer. Now I am wondering whether I should also go for another Q8300 build, because that processor is like 20 bucks nowadays, and it's powerful enough. Like, I've actually written music with that processor on this machine, and I'm developing video games on this machine, and this machine can run Unreal Engine, so it's powerful enough, definitely, to do what I need it to do. I've very rarely actually had any issues with things like buffering and glitches and dropouts of audio, all that stuff. So it's actually, like, for the most part, it's been a pretty reliable build. But on average, it would cost about 120 bucks, maybe, to build this machine. Like, if I am lucky with the parts. The processor costs about 20-25 bucks, maybe 30. The motherboard is usually about 45 bucks, maybe 50 bucks. Power supply, for sure, I'd need a proper power supply. I have one of those like laptop emulation power supplies, which allows you to plug in a brick adapter instead of an actual power supply. And that's usually great for miniaturizing your project, like putting your machine in a suitcase, because then instead of a power supply you have like a laptop style power brick. Just got to make sure that it's powerful enough to run your desktop computer at the appropriate load. I'll need to buy RAM, and that's pretty much it for the most part. I mean, keyboard, mouse, you can get that for maybe 25 bucks. Usually, like, you never account that kind of stuff into your builds. But I want to see if there's an i5 machine available somewhere out there. Maybe a used one that I can look up. I mean, let's see if that's the case. Boop. Okay. I mean, let's see. We've got Kijiji. Shit. No, that's not what I need. Kijiji.ca. i5 PC. I mean, I know every schmuck is probably gonna want to get as much money out of it as possible. Core i5, Windows 7, DVD drive, tax included, cheeky bastard. 195, computer link. Yeah, so I'm looking like minimum 200 bucks. It's an Apple. 2 pieces for repair. Gaming PC rig. Hold on, let me put a cap on it. Like, I $180 maybe. And I'm gonna get all shit, don't I? Core 2 Duo. What? Actually, here, i5. Okay, so Black Tower, i5, i7, starting at 100. Markham, York region. Great for those who want an affordable PC for internet. Pickup available. Still, okay. I'm not really sure how much better an i5 is going to be to a Q8300 because, I mean, why are they selling it for $100? Graphics card not included. That is fine by me. Because they say, like, great for those who want an affordable PC for the internet. And the Q8300 can do way more than just browse the internet. Unless these people don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how powerful their computer is. So here's $100. Core 2 Duo. No. Well, the clock speed is pretty good, but that usually doesn't really determine all that much. Core 2 Duo. Core 2 Duo. So none of these are i5 computers. And if I'm going with a Core 2 Duo, I can just go with a Core 2 Quad. Right? Because I don't need the case, I don't need the processor. How much RAM? 2 GB of DDR3. DDR3 RAM sounds nice. It's the kind of RAM that is way easier to find nowadays. But 2 gigs, I'd just be tossing this out. I'd be tossing this out. I'd be tossing this out. Don't need the graphics card. I'd be tossing this. So basically, like, I'm paying for the motherboard, and I'm overpaying too much. So there's another place that I like to visit sometimes. It's called High Tech Recycling, and it's a great company. It recycles computers from offices. Our services, get in touch. Secure data destruction. Asset management service. They have a store. They have a store that you can actually visit to purchase computers that they assemble from the used parts. Like, obviously not hard drives, but you can usually pick up a very cheap machine for very, very little. So I might want to contact these guys. Yeah, okay, not these guys. Anyways, I can't really find that. So I need a second MIDI interface, which I've looked on eBay, and for some reason every fucktard who's selling one is selling it like it's a brand new piece of equipment, like it's hot off the press or some vintage fucking hardware. I've seen one that's like, some of these listings are even more expensive than to buy a brand new one. It is insane, right? So I might want to call in Long McQuaid and see if they have a used one. If anything, there are legacy versions of the same interface. It's called the Mark of the Unicorn Timepiece MIDI interface. It has the same exact amount of inputs and outputs, but I would probably just plug that one into my rack in the studio and plug the MIDI Express 128, which I've owned for 6 years. It's a really good interface. And plug that into the portable system, because it's got like 8 outputs, right? 8 MIDI outputs, so I can connect my synth if I want to perform with some, and my lighting system, and my helmet, and probably have some stuff left over, because it's got like, if I can program in different channels for the MIDI stuff, I can probably plug in all of my lighting stuff on just one MIDI port, which is going to be awesome. But that's if I'm gonna go with another one, it's gonna be about 300 bucks, 250, 300. And if I'm gonna go with the older one and replace the one that's in the studio, that's probably gonna be about from 120 to 150 to 200. That's for the interface. The lighting system has this a whole bunch of stuff that I still have to add. Like this lighting part, this is just one single element of the lighting system. The LED wall, I'm also blah, 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 excuse me. I'm also supposed to have, sorry, it's like 1:30 in the morning. I'm also supposed to have projector lights, lasers, like upward lasers, the one that like open up and close up, which I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off without spending $80 in galvanometers, which are specialized for that kind of work. But it's an overkill because the things that galvanometers can do, I don't need to do, right? I need a very simple, like I need to use maybe only 10% of the entire functionality for a galvanometer, and a galvanometer costs like 80 bucks. So no, I'm probably gonna have to find some sort of an alternative. I need projector lights, I need fog machines, at least one or two. One, if I'm using one, I'm probably gonna have to figure out some sort of a fan system to kind of distribute the fog around, or I'm gonna have to use two on each side. I need laser shows, the one that actually shoot a pattern that, you know, I can trigger up, and all of this stuff is controllable with the microcontroller running the MIDI data from the digital audio workstation to the real world. What else? Projector lights, different color lights, and strobe lights. Strobe lights go for about 12 bucks for 120 volt strobe lights. So the solution is there. Now, I haven't looked up the totals for how much all of the stuff I just mentioned is going to go. In fact, to be honest, I'm probably going to have to build a computer that I'm going to be performing the music and that will run my lighting system. Because truth be told, this is not a complex lighting system. It is a whole lot better than what another DJ with an equivalent budget be able to pick up. Because, I mean, for the same amount of money that I'm building this entire wall, like this entire wall, once it's finished, obviously, after I've added some more LED strips and power supplies, this entire wall is probably gonna would have cost about $2,000 to $3,000 if it was purchased, right, like a commercial product. While for, I mean, my total for the LED wall is probably gonna run up to about 300 bucks, maybe just a little bit over. And I don't usually do totals because, first of all, I actually enjoy making these things. So seeing totals for me is kind of like a just disservice, so to speak, to my own interest, because I don't want to know how much I've spent on this, because I actually like doing this stuff, and it's not a commercial product, right? It's not like something I'm actually gonna be selling in the stores. So, you know, for me, it's just, you know, spare no expense on this type of product. And as I said, like the equivalent, like I've spent on this, I've spent 40 bucks on a power supply, 50 bucks on the LEDs. Let's say I bought the tripod. I didn't. I will have to replace this tripod with the one that I'll buy, because the one that I'll buy is actually taller and it's more suitable. So that's 25 bucks. So I'd say about 120 bucks in total. For 120 bucks, you can only buy a controller, a board, with a MIDI input that is supposed to control your lights. Also, I'm like extremely out of focus. Now, if I know any better... fuck it. I still need to fix this webcam. So, that's just the controller alone. No lights, no lasers, no fog machines, nothing. Just the control board. My control board is located in this box. It's a tiny little controller. It costs about 10 bucks. Right? 10 bucks? 120, right? Does exactly the same shit. You just gotta know how to program it. Right? So, I'm looking at about maybe maximum of 500 bucks for the light system after I've, created it using the little steps, instead of just dropping 500 bucks right at once, because that would not make me feel good about it. I'm just kind of making these tiny purchases, 50 bucks here, 50 bucks there, plus I don't have 500 bucks all at once to be spent on it. But my parents kind of asked like what it is that I do, and when I was able to actually show this thing working with full power, well, not full power, but running with the 40 amp power supply, which actually kind of made it look a whole lot better than what it looks like right now in here. My dad was kind of actually impressed with the thing, and it's not in its final form, right? So the projector lights, there's also supposed to be an array of lights going up top here on top of this thing on each of these things. So this is just one part. There's going to be lights on top of it that are going to be controlled using relays, and there's lights on the side, projector lights, lasers that shoot upwards, fog machines, lasers that shoot into the crowd with a pattern, because you can't really shoot like a full-on laser into the crowd. You got to use a diffuse pattern. I'm gonna have to rig up some stepper motors to rotate the pattern, but if I can trigger the lights using the stepper motors, then that would look a whole lot better than just basic strobe lights you can buy off of eBay. That's another thing. Like, I am actually gonna purchase those basic strobe lights that you can buy off of eBay for 12 bucks. But the difference is that I'm actually gonna have to hack them and rig them so that instead of the one single setting that you rotate to adjust the rate of the strobe light, I'm actually gonna replace it with a MOSFET, which I can control with the microcontroller, which I can control in the software. So now instead of doing physical turns, I can actually control this strobe lights in the software. And I'm going to have to pick up 3 different colors, obviously red, green, and blue. Yes, red, RGB, red, green, and blue. And those will actually shoot into the ceiling with the strobe lights looking all fly and shit. So that is basically my expense list for this stuff. Now, I have hit, like this right here, is the point where I have run out of resources. So while I am waiting for more savings to come in, and that is also when I have to put away about 25 bucks every week in order to save up to publish my second album officially. I'm not doing the Spotify stuff anymore. Just, it's a waste of effort. I'll probably have to buy the power supplies like one by one. I'll probably want to buy 2 of them at once because there's a discount when you buy multiple. What else? Well, maybe I'll buy 3 of them at a time, but if I buy 3 of them, they might get flagged by the import, and I might get sodomized by income taxes, or not income taxes, the duties and import charges. It sucks. Which actually might be better, because it's either I pay the extra $2 because the sale didn't engage because I didn't hit that like purchase over a certain amount to get a discount, or I get like $25 of import charges. So in that case, it's probably much wiser for me to to purchase one at a time. Yeah, so second album is coming close to completion, which is exciting because this album has way more music that I can actually perform in a live setting, and the music is actually way more resembling to the style that I kind of want to explore and go into. Fun stuff. While I am waiting for more cash to come in and more cash to be saved up to continue doing this, I can actually finish up the bucket list and to-do list in the game, in the Artag Rise project. So doing things like splash screen, main menu, character selection, that sort of deal, while I'm working on the script for the game, for my dad to kind of work on. What else? I think that's about it, actually. I mean, for the most part, most of the news were revolving around the lighting system. So, a lot of work that has been done, a lot of work that has yet to be done, and a lot of money that I'm putting towards this project. But here's the thing, with this lighting system, there's no like going back. Like I can't use this lighting system with a home thing or for live streaming music. This lighting system is made for performing live. It looks effective while live in a bar, in a venue, physical performance. So this, like, I'm putting actual money towards something that I can take to physical performances. So this isn't some stuff that I can do for myself, right? Like video game development. This is a step towards me trying to perform my music live. And once again, for the same budget, anyone else who can't do programming, who can't do controller programming and project development, it's home-based circuit board printing, they would probably not even get close to something like this with readily available tools, right? They might afford a few lights, they might afford, like, they'd be able to afford a controller, the controller board, like a mixer board for lighting, and a few dinky lights. Like one light goes for about $150. So, you do the math. That you're not really making a lot of, or you're not really collecting a lot or assembling a lot of moving parts there. It's gonna be like the mixer board, a couple of lights, a fog machine if you're lucky. But here's the thing: even if you buy a fog machine, it's useless unless it has elements that go well with the fog machine, like for example lighting that's supposed to be occluded by the fog and supposed to refract in the fog, which means that the lights actually light up the fog and the fog looks a lot more interesting, right? Just simple fog is just, it's like a very bad high school play. They're like, we need fog machines because the scene is in a graveyard. Anyways, I'm just about out of tea. Just about out of time. I mean, who knows? Maybe later down the line I'll be able to actually make proper prints for the circuit board and sell the kit as an affordable custom lighting solution. Probably at some point when I can afford tougher projects and higher caliber lights and whatnot. Moving right along. Yeah, I've got work tomorrow. That's actually starting early. Once again, the neighboring branch have asked for some help, and considering that I need to get some cash, Christmas is coming up, everybody needs presents. We gotta save up for that. Thinking for, my brother and I are gonna double up and get my dad a proper monitor, because he's been doing the same thing that I'm doing here, and using a TV, like one of those cheap $100 TVs, in order to do programming. Like, you can see up close how poor the resolution is on this thing, or the DPI is, so to speak. So you can like really destroy your eyes on this thing, and you gotta increase the size of the font in order to be able to see what is actually going on. And it's not good, but at least it's kind of something for now. It can't even properly do like resolution. Like, if you take a look at the top corner, it literally cuts off. Right? It cuts off the screen. It can't even do proper resolution over HDMI. But, you know, it's better than nothing for now. In the meantime, that fucking monitor is just dying. Like, look at it. You can actually catch it completely, like, eating shit. Give it a second. This monitor is weird. It's like, I can disconnect it. I can leave it alone for a month, and it's going to sit for a month, and I can come back to it, and it's going to actually be okay for about a month, and then it's going to start dying again. Yeah, you see that? That's not the worst thing. Just wait until it starts just eating shit full throttle. Like, there we go. See those fucking lines? That's a faulty logic board. Yep. You see that shit? Yep. So, I mean, this monitor, wow. Yeah, it's... I mean, I have such a shitty setup. Such a janky setup made out of so many terrible parts that I scavenged, that it's more amusing than shameful to actually share this kind of stuff. But my dream is to at some point make enough money so I could pick up some Dell 4K, not even 4K, I don't even care if it's 4K, some Dell widescreen color correction monitors, so I could start doing 3D stuff. But that's like way down the line, when I have enough money to support my own life, like standalone lifestyle, and do all that stuff. So, fun in the sun. Anyways, this is the update. I hope that YouTube is actually going to process this and put it up as an included video instead of just ditching it. But I am recording this, so if anything, I'll just re-upload it. But anyways, that has been the update. I've posted this update also in the on my Patreon page, so if anybody wants to become my Patreon, all the same stuff that I talk about here is going to be on there. You know, it's basically where I kind of have to report on what I've been up to the patrons. For now, I gotta call it a night. It's actually 2 in the morning. I gotta get up in 5 hours to go to this other store far, far away. Anyways, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for watching. Obviously, I streamed this because it's a lot easier than uploading it, recording and uploading it. It just goes straight to the website. But I'll see you guys in the next video, in the next update, or in the next live stream. Bye bye.